It's stuff that they don't talk about when they talk about NDEs. And I don't call them near-death experiences because you don't come back as yourself, ever.
So you definitely felt like you changed.
Oh my God, very much so. Because you're not yourself. Like, you don't feel like you're on this plane. You don't feel like things are real. But then once you do feel like things are real, the depression follows.
Yeah, I'm afraid to ask.
Yeah. Ask. Do it.
Well, because you said that was the first 2 deaths.
Yes.
It all starts with a single question asked to an anonymous caller. What do you think happens when we die? And from there, the conversation goes in completely unexpected directions. Some speak with certainty, others with doubt. Some are still trying to make sense of it all. I'm Zach Ansell, and this is When We Die Talks, a podcast about death, meaning, and how that shapes the way we live. This podcast was born from my own fears around death and the need to talk about it. Thank you for being a part of this conversation. I'm glad you're here. This episode is brought to you by Woven WordPress. One day, your name will be written on a family tree. Just a line between 2 dates. But who were you between those years? What did you love, learn, overcome, become? The Fabric of Me is a guided journal to help you capture the stories, memories, and meaning behind your life, so you're more than just a name to those who come after you. This thoughtful, crafted book is an heirloom piece intended to outlive us all. Leave something real. Begin your story at wovenword.net. Hey, welcome back or welcome here if this is your first time. It's hard to believe, but this is the final episode of 2025. Over the past year, this project has changed a lot. It started with long-form interviews, moved into anonymous calls, and eventually expanded into things like Saturday Contemplations. Along the way, I've recorded more than 30 full episodes, listened to numerous voicemails, and spent a lot of time sitting with people's fears, beliefs, stories, and questions about death. What's become clear to me is that this project isn't just about the calls themselves. It's about what happens inside us when we really take time to sit with them. And as the year has gone on, I felt more and more pulled to speak from that place directly, instead of letting every conversation stand entirely on its own. So as we head into January, the podcast is going to shift a bit, or at least in this moment, I'm thinking it will. A lot of this is still in the works, but you'll likely start hearing more from me on Wednesdays. Shorter episodes where I bring a few clips from a call and spend some time reflecting on the ideas, on patterns I'm noticing, and the questions that keep coming up for me as I sit with them. And then on Fridays, you'll still have access to the longer anonymous calls like this one. Spacious, unhurried conversations for anyone who wants to go a little deeper. They'll likely be a little less polished than they are currently, but I think that's actually something you'll enjoy. The intention behind this isn't to make things more complicated. It's actually the opposite. I want to make this project feel more approachable, especially for the people who are curious about talking about death, but feel overwhelmed by the idea of stepping into a long, heavy conversation right away. This way, there's more room to enter slowly, reflectively, and on your own terms. You'll also notice that Saturday Contemplations are moving over to Substack. That felt like the most intentional place for them to live, somewhere quieter, more contained, and more aligned with how people actually return to those practices. As the podcast evolves, I want to keep the number of lanes clear and let each part of the project breathe where it fits best. And all of that brings us to this call. This conversation is very unique and such a great one to end the year on. The caller talks openly about dying multiple times, about trauma, loss, fear, and long stretches of disorientation. And at the same time, somehow, we laugh a lot. Like, a lot. Not because any of the situations are funny, but because humor becomes a way to stay human when things get unbearable. At one point in the call, we joke about calling this episode Snakes on a Gurney. At another, we're talking about prayer, belief, and whether we should call a higher power Buddha, God, or maybe we should just call him George. Those moments aren't distractions from the seriousness. They're part of how people survive it. They're the nervous system taking a breath, a reminder that even in the darkest stories, something in us still wants to connect, to soften the edges, to keep going. This episode isn't looking to explain death or offer clean answers. It's about how people improvise meaning, how belief is power, how fear loosens its grip just enough to let curiosity back in. If you're in the right place for it, this conversation might meet you right there. All right, let's jump into the call. I hope you enjoy.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Fantastic. How are you?
I'm good, but I'm also like flustered's not the right word either, but just there's a lot around this project that I'm kind of behind on. And so today's just been one of those days
Okay.
of like trying to catch up on everything, and so it feels like, oh, I got to get this done and then I got to get this done and then I got to do a call. And so I just feel like I'm kind of in a million places at once. Maybe scattered is the right word, but I'm going to ground it into this call because I'm really excited about it. I've kind of changed the format a little bit of the application process. It used to be just a phone number. And now, as you
Mm-hmm.
know, because you applied, I'm asking for maybe just a little snippet of why you want to have the conversation. And we'll talk about that in a second. But yours was very
Mm-hmm.
intriguing. And so I'm very excited to chat with you. And from your phone number, I think you're also located in Portland, like I am.
That's right.
So
Yeah.
we're like neighbors or something. So I am very excited to talk to you. I'm going to put all the other things that I need to get done away and really excited to chat with you.
Okay. Yay, I'm excited too. This is fun.
Awesome. Well, I've already kind of alluded to a couple of the questions I ask right out of the gate, but we'll start with why you even wanted to have this conversation, why you wanted to talk about death. It's a conversation that a lot of people avoid and don't want to talk about.
Okay. All right. Short answer, I have a very intimate relationship with death. And because of that, I feel like the conversation, especially in the United States, needs to be more often.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Preach or something.
Yeah.
I think that's
Short
what people. I
answer.
think that's what people say. I'm
Yeah.
not. I'm not very cool, so I'm already regretting kind of throwing that out there. I'm like, I'm in 100% agreement with you. So we can kind of maybe get to know you a little bit. Obviously, keeping the anonymity and everything. I
Mm-hmm.
kind of already spoiled where you live. You're in Portland as well. So that's one of the questions I asked to kind of get to know you is where you live. But then the other one that I normally ask,
P-Town.
yeah, P Town. And then the other one that I normally ask is, what's your favorite book and why?
Oh, The Child Thief by Brahm, because it's the first story I have ever read about Peter Pan being a total douchebag.
The Child Thief?
Yeah, it's such a dark, dark story.
Okay, interesting. I haven't even heard of it. I have become a big reader, and so I love kind of collecting all these random recommendations from people, and I
Yeah.
put them together into a list, and the list is becoming kind of a hodgepodge of just very random books, and it's one of my favorite things about the project because it's a question that people don't expect me to ask when we're talking about death. But you were on it. So maybe now we can jump into the bigger conversation and start with, what do you think happens when we die?
It's individual. I can only tell you what happened to me.
Which is an interesting way of phrasing, which I'm sure you'll explain more about that. But that I love that kind of.
Yeah.
If the listeners didn't catch that phrasing, and which I'm sure they did, that's very very subtle way to throw it out there.
It is just like having a personal relationship with religion. Everything is individual.
Okay.
So is your death because it has everything to do with you and no one else. So your death will not look like my death. Completely different. The lessons are different. Our experiences are different, so they couldn't be the same.
I like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think the easy follow-up question to that is, what did your death look like, or what has your death looked like?
Which one?
I think I would like to hear about as many as we can get in, if you're up for it. But yeah, I'm like the navigator, I think, or maybe I don't know. I don't know the right metaphor. You're steering the ship, and I'm kind of slowly, direct us ways. But this is obviously a perspective that most people don't have. And so I think,
Right.
yeah, as much as you want to share about it and which ones and or whatever, wherever you want to go with it, I'm here for it.
Okay. Right on. So I will say, we'll talk about the first time that I passed, and that was twice in one sitting. And so I will say for people who are religious, you will have a completely different experience because that is where your belief system is. You're going to see all the people that you love, and there's going to be music and angels, and it's going to be beautiful rainbows and unicorns. It's going to be great.
It sounds pretty great.
But that's not for everyone. That is not everyone's experience.
Yeah.
However, on this planet, for some reason, we exploit that one myopic view. That is not what happened to me.
Yeah.
It was sudden. I wasn't supposed to. And the first roll of it, I expected the singing and the music. And no, it was complete darkness. I couldn't see in front of my face. Even when I put my hand in front of my face, there was nothing there. There was no floor. There was no ceiling. I physically couldn't see a body, even though I knew I had one, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, as
And
much as it
there
can make sense,
was
right? It makes sense.
Right. So, like, imagine yourself in a haunted house that is just a dark place.
Yeah.
And you have to put your arms out to feel where you're going. And you don't know if things are going to jump up at you or you're going to fall. You have to trust the dark to be safe. And that's kind of what my experience was like. There was these dark things coming after me, calling my name in 12 octaves, which is creepy.
Yeah.
And they would run around me, laughing at my efforts to get away from them. It was horrific.
That sounds horrific. You had me like, this project is me kind of exploring my fears and anxieties, and I did not grow up religious or with any kind of religion in my life. And so I was like, yeah, maybe I do need to sign up for the rainbows and unicorns. How do I do that? Because this darkness thing sounds a lot like what I have felt like happens, and this sounds terrifying.
It was quite terrifying.
Yeah.
To my understanding, to the doctors and nurses that were caring for me, I was in a coma.
Okay.
I went into a coma by way of accident. So I used to be a fire breather, and I blew this flame 10 feet out of my face, but it looked like there was a mirror right in front of that flame, and it curved and went into my face and down my throat.
Whoa.
So I was rushed off to the ambulance to get treatment, which they took me to the nearest hospital. I was in California at the time visiting, and they forgot to ask my name. They just asked for my consent so they can make sure that I wasn't going. My throat was closing, so to make sure that I wasn't going to die. And they gave me enough drugs to knock down a horse, and yet I was awake for the whole surgery.
Whoa. Also not something that you want.
No, not at all. And I felt everything. I heard their whole conversations, everything. And because of that complication, because of that stress and trauma, that put me into a coma. And then I had more complications because I had second-degree burns on the top parts of my lungs and my esophagus.
Whoa.
Which is, you can hear the scratchiness in my voice. They dropped my voice 2 octaves. And so I died twice in 2 settings. Both times, 10 minutes. They were going to toe tap me when I came to, both times.
Whoa. And so I have had another guest on the show who has experienced an NDE. I read a book about it. And so I'm curious about just trying to like flush out and make sure I'm understanding. You mentioned that you were awake, or, you kind of heard everything. I guess the question is like, was that like an out of body experience where you were like, oh, I'm kind of like, I'm seeing everything? Or you also definitely hear stories of people who are like, oh yeah, I was awake during surgery. I was in my body. I just couldn't move, couldn't talk, couldn't do anything. So I don't know.
Yep, that.
So the latter. Okay. All right.
I wished I was floating above myself, but no, I was trapped in my bed. And I felt very much like Kill Bill. I was sitting in my head going, wiggle your big toe, wiggle your big toe, wiggle your big toe.
Please, please, please.
To wiggle everything.
Yeah.
Like for everyone to hear me, that I was screaming. And I started crying on the OR, and I could hear the doctor swear. He's like, oh, crap, she's awake. Give her more morphine. God. And I'm screaming in my head, no, that makes my arms itch. And they did it, and I couldn't scratch or move anything. I was just on fire. And that laid me out. Yeah.
That sounds like a terrible experience.
It really was. And the worst part, when you come out
what do you mean the worst part?
Were
we already there?
They don't. No. That's not the worst part. It's the nightmares after, because they don't give you therapy for that.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, it'll just go away. You're fine.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because and I want to stay on this topic, but I think it feeds in here. That is a huge part of and I think it's more than just the United States, but that is kind of one of the issues with how we treat death is the doctors saved you, right? Not dead. Perfect. Cool. Go on your way. Like, death is treated as the enemy. And so as long as we defeat death, then cool, everything else is fine. Go your merry way. If it was just the accident and nothing else after that you remembered, I mean, that would be traumatic in and of itself, let alone all
Hmm.
the things that happened and that you remembered and experienced during the surgery, of course that added. I can't even imagine.
So much. Yeah,
Ugh.
absolutely. I learned how cavalier doctors are. They think they're these gods,
Yeah.
and they talk about their skills in Oscar points. it's
Ugh.
it's alarming
Yeah.
to be the patient and listen to this
Yeah.
hubris.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I want to hear about your other stories, but I think I have maybe a question that I want to dive into before that, if that's all right.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
so obviously the concept behind this project is exploring what people think happens when we die. And so you
Hmm.
said very individualistic. It is unique to person or self or whatever we want to call it. And so you said there are these people who have religion and believe in heaven and all this beautiful stuff. So
Hmm.
what does that say about your beliefs? And that this is kind of
Um,
the experience that you had. And are you okay with that? Is there fear, anxiety around? There's so many questions. So maybe I'll stop
yeah.
rambling and see where you go with it, and then maybe I'll direct from there. But there's a lot of questions here for sure.
No, it says nothing about religion and or anything like that. It says everything about my experience and your subconscious and what your subconscious
Mm,
holds on to. Because my mom died the previous year,
okay.
and then I had a few friends die that year before I passed. So there was a lot of sadness already.
Okay.
And there was a lot of questions with like,
Mm,
where's my mom going to go? What's going to happen to her energy? Is she going to do this? Is she going to do that? And of course, with my friends as well.
okay.
If you are deep in sadness, I think that kind of rules your brain a bit.
Yeah. Which we've all been through experiences, and I think this is something I talk about a lot too, at least personally with other people. We all have trauma, and there's obviously trauma that's worse than other trauma, but it's also, like you said, all of our experiences are our own, and we don't really know what other experiences are like. And so it's not really worth comparing. And so I want to
No.
say within that, all this loss, that's a different kind of trauma than anything that I've experienced. But I have also been through times in my life where that cloud that's over you, and not the Portland clouds. We know those Portland
Mm-hmm.
clouds. The
Yeah. Yes.
the real sadness and depression and just the
Right.
heaviness of life.
But then I also feel like it was quite a lesson. And I don't know if you've experienced this where the universe, Buddha, God, we'll call him George, whispers to you. We'll call him George, it's
Love
fine.
that. I love that. Somehow that's going to end up being the episode. That's going to get worked into the episode title somehow.
Nice. Have you prayed to George?
Yeah. Love that. Love that.
Where it comes to you as a whisper, hey, you might
Mm,
not want to do that. And that's a whisper, it's really soft.
yeah.
And then, you keep doing that said thing, and then they yell at you, and it's
Mm,
pretty loud, but you still ignore it, and then they smack you upside the head with the 2x4.
yeah.
And so this, this was my smack upside my head with a 2x4. There were certain signs in my life at that time that I was not paying attention to
Mm,
because I was having such a pity party for
yeah.
myself. So I felt like the first two deaths were lessons,
Mm,
and I definitely won top notch. And I say it because I was running and I was in a coma 9 days. So I was running in my coma. They said for a good 3 to 4 days. My
whoa.
arms and legs were so stiff. They could not get them to relax with all of the drugs they were giving me.
Whoa.
And it was because I was running. I was running away from all of these dark things and like
Mm,
batting their hands or whatever limbs it was off with me, trying to get away from them. And then I got tired.
mm.
And I turned around and I said some really ugly things. And the best that I can describe it is, okay, I'm done. And if you're coming after me, I'm taking you to hell with me. Let's go. And that's the polite version.
Yeah. You're ready to fight.
And once I was done.
You tried
you
tried the flight,
safe.
which I
I did.
appreciate as being a former track athlete. People look at me and I think they would think I'm a fighter. I'm like, no. I'm fast. I'm getting out of here. So I that would have been my plan too. Is I'm gonna run, but then it sounds like you're braver than me. I don't know if I would have turned around and be like, all right, let's duke this out.
I think I believe my mom. I am crazy. Because in the face of my adversaries or, of danger, I always turn around and go, let's go. Fine. I can't run faster than you. Let's just do this and see who comes out on top. And when I did that in my coma, those dark things, they kind of sulked back into the dark quietly. And then it became a lot more quiet, like deafening. And then out of nowhere, there was this light above me. It looked like a little star. And I kept falling. And as I was watching it, it was growing. And when it fell, it hit on my thigh. And I woke up on a gurney with snakes all over my leg.
Oh, God, I thought we were going somewhere better.
No, not at all.
You had me excited. I was like, okay, phew. Nope. All right. Because snakes are my number one.
Not at all.
Oof. Okay. All right. So now we got snakes on a gurney, not snakes on a plane. There's a title there too.
There's a difference. Snakes on a gurney. I watched that. Yeah, I moved the snakes off my legs and stuff, and I stood up. I was wobbling. I still had the hospital gown on, and my butt's all flapping in the wind and everything. It was quite windy, and I hear the tarp, the little O-ring on the tarp that you put cord or string to.
Yeah.
It was hitting this metal thing. And when I lifted up the metal thing, there was a Humvee with California plates, and I woke up and scared the shit. Oops, I'm sorry. I scared the crap.
No, you can curse. It's
okay.
You don't need to hold back. No, you're totally fine.
Okay.
Yeah, you could. I should have said that earlier. Yeah, you can totally say whatever you want.
Okay.
I mean, I should say maybe there's some things that we probably shouldn't say, but saying fuck is totally fine.
Okay, good.
I was like, I'll curse for you. So
thank you. Oh, you could be my curse machine.
Oh, perfect. I'll
just stop and you say it.
Yeah, if that's an actual career path, sign me up, please. I would love that.
Oh man. So yeah. I scared the crap out of the nurse, and I couldn't speak, so I'm like trying to talk. I had a trach in, so there's no way that I could talk. But I'm mouthing like, "Go get my boyfriend" at the time. And that's what I remember. And then 3 days later, after arguing with doctors, I got to go home. And my first restful night of sleep, I woke up to 9/11. And I didn't think I was alive for an entire year.
Whoa. Yep. So did you kind of felt like you never got out?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying? Oh my gosh. That is wild.
Yeah.
That is blowing my mind. What made you realize in the end that, or are we still in there? That's my concern some days. Like, am I just dreaming right now? A really shitty dream.
Here's the thing
but yeah, what got you out?
I was hanging with friends and having such a great time. I'm like, oh shit, I got to call my mom. She's going to really love this. And they all looked at me crazy. And I'm like, what? She's going to love this story. I'm like, baby, your mom's dead. Wait, what? I didn't remember. I had to relive my mom's death all over again.
Whoa.
And that's what got me out of it. Yeah.
Yeah, that is heartbreaking.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, it's stuff that they don't talk about when they talk about NDEs. And I don't call them near-death experiences because you don't come back as yourself. Ever.
So you definitely felt like you changed.
Oh my God, very much so. The things that I would put up with, I no longer. I couldn't be around people, large crowds anymore. I would have panic attacks and pass out at the grocery store if there were too many people. It was crippling.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, because you're not yourself. Like, you don't feel like you're on this plane. You don't feel like things are real. But then once you do feel like things are real, the depression follows.
Yeah, I'm afraid to ask.
Yeah.
Ask.
Do it.
Well, because you said that was the first 2 deaths.
Yes.
So where do we go now? What was the third one?
So the third one, I was in Costa Rica.
Which also, again, if the listeners are paying attention, I didn't say, what was the last one? I said, what's the third one?
Yeah.
There's still more to come.
Because there's more to come.
Oh gosh. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna shake out a little bit. All right. Okay, I'm ready. I'm ready for number 3.
Okay. So I was in Costa Rica. I was teaching at the time, and I woke up one morning with the worst migraine of my life. It felt like someone was shoving a spike in top of my head and pulling out my teeth one by one.
Fun.
And I stumbled to the group, and I'm like, hey, I can't do this today. I'm going to have to, take off and stuff. I'm not feeling all that great. And before I could say I'm sorry, I've passed out, apparently. Now, the rest of this is through the story of other people.
Okay.
So they said that I passed out. A friend of mine came over to ask me if I was okay. I vaguely remember her in my face asking me if I'm okay, but all I heard was, what you want? You would eat? I said, I'm sorry, what?
It was very like Charlie Brown with the adults.
Right? I can't understand what you're saying. Are you speaking English? What is this? And a friend of mine, he just came over and picked me up, and they had some cushions that they laid me on. And once they laid me down, that's when I was out. They said they lost my pulse 3 times within 3 to 4 minutes of each other.
Whoa.
What I remember is laying there looking at the sun, and it was gorgeous, and it felt great, and there was no pain. My head felt great. I was just laying there on the cold marble, and I saw this figure, this black dot in the sun, and it started to get bigger as it was coming towards me. And I'm looking, and I'm seeing this person. I'm like, what is this? It's the shape of a woman. I'm like, okay. And I look at the face, and it's my mom.
Oh.
My mom came.
Wow.
And I was like, yes.
This is so much better.
Home. This is dope. This is excellent. I'm like, all right, Mom, let's go. I am ready. And she grabbed my face and she goes, you can't. I'm like, excuse you? She goes, you cannot go. I'm like, no, ma'am. I remember from last time I had a choice. This is my choice, and don't you dare leave me with these people. And she says, baby, you got this. I'm like, please don't leave me. She goes, I swear you got this. And she stood up and walked into the sun.
Whoa.
And to my understanding from the story of other people, they said I bolted up with a big gulp of air in my lungs and said, it's about fucking time, and passed out.
I'm glad that we got rid of the you feeling like you couldn't curse, because that would have ruined that moment.
Right.
That was a perfect moment.
So, yeah, that was interesting within itself to be told, to realize my first 2 times that you have a choice. Either you can die in the darkness or you can fight with the darkness. And I fought the darkness and won. So here I am on my 3rd try. I'm like, hell yes, I'm going home.
Yeah.
It's going to be great.
I found the light.
No, you can't. You cannot go. Can't go home. I was so mad.
Yeah, I bet.
I was so mad.
How long after the previous 2 was this? Was this a couple years later, 5, 10, like roughly timeline?
Years.
Okay.
2018.
Okay. So almost 2 decades.
Yeah.
Okay.
So in 2001 is when I passed the first time, and then first 2 times.
Yeah.
And then 2018, here we go. 3rd time's a charm until last year.
Oh, God. Okay. I'm ready. I think.
Okay. So last year, smoking a J after work, and my legs start to not feel good. Like I couldn't lift them. And my phone was in my bedroom. So I stumble over to my bed, and I'm barely holding on to my phone, trying to call 911, put it on speaker, smart.
Yep.
And I tell the dispatch all the information, where I am, my symptoms, the whole bit. And she said, just hold on tight. People are going to come there. I said, I don't think I'm going to make it. She goes, what? I'm like, I felt this feeling before. I'm not going to make it. She goes, you're going to make it. I'm like, I'm dying. She goes, you're not dying. I'm like, I'm dying right now. And I passed out, hit my face on my dresser, and fell on my floor. And I was tunneling into the dark. And I remember this place. I've been to this place before. And I felt like I was reaching for that light, and I could not reach it. I was getting sucked deeper and deeper into the darkness. And I could hear the dispatch lady screaming my name. And because I heard that, I was clawing my way out of the darkness to her voice. And as soon as I got out of the darkness, this took a good 5 minutes. This whole thing took 5 minutes. I came to, puked all over my floor. And she's like, if you can just get to the door and wait for them, they can take care of you. They meaning the paramedics.
Yeah.
So I crawled to my front door, hoist myself up to open the door, and passed out again. And I was flopping like a fish. I could feel my body flopping. once the paramedics got there, they said I was severely dehydrated and there was nothing that they could do. And so I waived them to take me to the hospital, which was dumb on their part and my part. Because the next day I drove myself to the hospital, find out I had no white blood cells, no iron, no vitamin K.
Whoa.
My blood sugar was 55 and tanking. And had I not come in that day, I would have died that day.
Whoa.
I had 8 rounds of iron and a blood transfusion, only to find out that I had massive fibroids in my uterus. And that's what was killing me.
That is wild.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I really believe Buddhists and Taoists, because when my mom came to me, that was the height of my spirituality. I was deep in my practice. I was helping other people get out of the funk that I was in to be in a better practice.
Yeah.
And so it really is the mindset. And even the Dalai Lama says, you can create whatever universe that you want, even in death. He says you can believe that this would be the one life that you have, so live it well. But Taoist believes that you'll have many lives, and you can live all of them well, all of them. So why not believe that in your death, you don't have to come back here? And why would you choose to come back to this planet when you can go to other dimensions, other planets, other universes? You can make up your own thing. And that's what carved my religion and spirituality.
I love that. And that's kind of a perfect place, because that's kind of where I was going to go with the next part of the conversation, or at least from what you had discussed, in this very scary place that you've kind of talked about. Yeah. I would, if I had experienced that, I'd be like, no, I don't want to do that again. But it sounds that like you have explored and found this beautiful belief and deep knowing in yourself that I get to kind of craft and create what that looks like for me. And so it doesn't sound like there's fear, there's liberation, maybe.
Freedom.
Yeah, freedom. I like that. And I don't know how to phrase this. There is no concerns about dying now then. I guess you didn't say that you had any concerns before.
I did. I had huge concerns before, like, is it going to hurt, or I'm going to be lonely, or, am I going to be walking this particular earth, and no one will see me? Like, what is it? Like, what is the end? And the end is whatever you would like for it to be. Do you want to see your loved ones? Then visualize that. Do you want to go to heaven? Visualize that. Personally, I'd like to go to hell, because that's where the whiskey is.
Yeah, send me where the good stuff is. Yeah,
no doubt.
Yeah,
that's where the party is.
Yeah, although I'm not really that much fun, so I'll take the alcohol, but maybe I'll find like a corner. I'll be like the wallflower in hell. That sounds like my scene. And I'm just like, oh, look at all those people having fun. I'm just gonna stand over here and be an awkward introvert. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so you did mention Buddhism, and is that something that was that something that you had been practicing before the first death, or was this an exploration something that you picked up along the way and it just felt right? It just resonated.
I grew up Baptist, and I walked away from that when I was 12 because it did not sound right at all. And so I have been dabbling at that time in different religions and trying to find my way. And really, I'm just a spiritualist. I'm not a Buddhist. I find that unrealistic because I can't love everything.
Yeah.
I do not love spiders. You can't make me love spiders. It's not happening. Sorry.
I've actually been dabbling into Buddhism and learning more about that. I'm doing a big class with my teacher on the Eightfold Path. And as I'm diving in, I would still say a lot of this is wonderful, and I love how it makes me look at life and interact with other people and all this stuff. But I still, and maybe I need to keep going, but I don't know if I'll ever be able to like, oh yeah, I'm a Buddhist. That's what I am. I like how you phrased it, where it's, I take what I can from this. Because I think the other thing with Buddhism that's really interesting and maybe hard is I think there is a really easy way to look at it as not a religion and more as a philosophy, because there is so much of that packed in there. And so I don't know if I'll ever really cross that border from philosophical to religion or whatever, but I'm forgetting exactly how you phrased it, but just the spiritual side of it. definitely feel like I'm
Yeah,
starting
I'm
to
a
tap into that because
spiritualist.
spiritualist. Yeah, I
I
don't need another
I
label.
believe that I believe all of the religions are saying the same things. I mean, love
They
one
really
another, be
are.
kind to one another. In Buddhists and Taoists, I believe that's a way of life. That's not a religion.
Yeah.
Because you can be a Taoist witch, you can be a Taoist Catholic, a Buddhist Catholic, Christian,
Yeah.
whichever. It's all encompassing because it is about nature and the rhythm of nature and how we dance to that rhythm and how we vibe on that rhythm. And right now we're out of balance.
We are.
Mhm.
But not shocking. I think that's the thing that I keep
No.
on thinking about where I can't believe that this is the world we live in. And then 2 seconds later it's
Right.
but I can because of what
Right.
we have set as our priorities as a society. It's like, well, yeah, of course we're here.
Yeah.
This is not shocking actually. Like it sucks and it's not fun, but not shocking at all.
Not shocking at all.
You're definitely gonna. I know a little bit about Taoism, but not nearly enough. So you're definitely gonna push me in the direction of learning more there because I think exactly like you said. It's a way of living that encompasses every aspect of it. And I guess maybe others would argue that religion does that too. And I think at its best, probably yes, but that's again not the world. Not the world we live in.
I would say Confucianism, we're going to add them to the Buddhist and the Taoist.
Okay.
Because it is also a way of life. They're more philosophy-based, to be honest, Confucianism. For that organized religion to actually work, it would have to take money out of the equation.
Yeah.
So that is where Buddhist, Taoist, and Confucianism comes in to the all-encompassing, and it actually works for the individual if you let it work.
Yeah.
But I have found that organized religions, they take a lot of your free will and your character away, which is why a lot of people fail at it.
Mm.
I wouldn't say fail, but they are indifferent with it and they wrestle with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I have one last question to ask you.
All right.
And so you have had quite the life and have been through a lot. But is there anything that you still, like what's one thing that you still want to experience in this life?
Oh my God, there's too many things to note. There's way too many things to note.
Give me a couple. It doesn't have to be just one.
I would love to do some mushrooms in Cairo under Anubis's cartouche and his tomb to speak with the gods.
I know it feels too basic to call it an experience. This event or whatever. I like this curated event that you've created. That sounds wonderful. Is there any others that you want to share? I know I don't want to cut you off at just one because you said you had a couple, or you had a lot. But
there's so many because I've been on this spiritual journey after the first 2 times that I have died. I have read all kinds of books. I've gone to certain places. But there are places that I really want to go, and going to the Valley of the Kings and seeing the kings there, but then going to Machu Picchu.
Yeah.
And talking to Mama Ayahuasca and speaking with the gods of the Mayans and Incans.
I love all this, and I hope you make it happen.
Me too. Absolutely. I have had some touch points on them through meditation with different shamans.
Yeah.
And that was amazing. It was amazing. So I can only imagine going to the birthplaces would be even more intense. And then maybe they can tell me why I've died so many times.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's still a question.
Well, I'm going to say if that does happen, you definitely need to let me know. I want to hear a follow-up about it. Maybe we can have you back on the show and you can talk all about it. But yeah, I just want to thank you so much for applying and being willing to talk to a complete stranger about your experiences, your deaths. I mean, it's very personal stuff. And so I just want to say thank you so much for doing that.
Oh, thank you so much for having this this contest. This is really awesome. Yeah. I've been searching for this ever since I passed the first time. And
well, sorry it took me so long.
Yeah.
It's all my fault. I apologize.
How dare you?
I'll be better, I promise. But maybe last thing I want to touch on before we go. This is the thing that I find so wonderful. We live in the same city. There's maybe chances that we'd run into each other more likely than, other callers that I talk to and who live in other cities or other countries. But probably wouldn't have this conversation. And then the other part of it too is when I talk to people and say I have a podcast about death, it's always that's so depressing, that's so sad, that's so heavy. We talked about some heavy stuff for sure. We also laughed a ton and had such a wonderful time. And so that's another thing that I just really hope that this inspires people to have these conversations. That is something that we are capable of doing. And in fact, we need to do it because we are such in lack of that. And I think that's one of the reasons why everybody is tired and depressed and anxious and all these things is because we're not actually connecting with other humans. So again, I want to thank you for being willing to share, but also being willing to laugh and have fun with it too, because this was so much fun. I really enjoyed it.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. This was amazing.
Yeah, we'll definitely stay in touch. Let me know when you get to Machu Picchu and when you get to the Valley of the Kings. I want to hear all about the experiences. I'll let you know when I make it. I want to go I just want to see the Himalayas. I want to hike in the Himalayas. So I'll let you know when I go there, do some meditation, and maybe I'll figure out some stuff there and we can talk again and have another fun and wonderful conversation.
Absolutely. Challenge accepted.
Perfect. Well, thank you again, and I hope you have a good rest of your day.
Thank you. You too.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Before we close, I want to sit here for just a moment. This conversation holds a lot: fear, loss, laughter, belief, disbelief, and the strange ways that all of those things can exist at the same time. The caller shares stories that are genuinely frightening, deeply painful, and at moments unexpectedly funny. It's a reminder that people are so much more resilient, strange, and tender than we often give ourselves credit for. Over the course of this year, I've spent something like 3,000 minutes talking to strangers about death. Thousands of minutes listening to people tell me what they're afraid of, what they believe, what they've lost, what they're still trying to understand. And something that I think would surprise most people is that for something so often labeled as dark or depressing, these conversations are filled with so much life, so much laughter, so much honesty, so much humanity. And it makes me wonder how often we miss this in our everyday lives, how rarely we give ourselves permission to slow down, to ask deeper questions, or to really listen to the people in front of us. These kinds of conversations don't require a microphone or a podcast. They just require a little courage and a willingness to stay present when things get real. If there's anything this episode and this year has shown me, it's that talking about death doesn't detach us from life. It brings us closer to it, closer to each other, closer to what actually matters. And as we head into the holidays and toward a new year, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for trusting this space. And thank you for being willing, in whatever way you are, to sit with these conversations instead of turning away from them. If this episode stirred something in you, I hope you give yourself a little space to breathe with it. And if you feel called to share your own thoughts, beliefs, or questions about death, the door is always open. For now, though, I hope you're able to find some rest, some warmth, and maybe a few moments of connection over the next couple weeks. Happy holidays, and I hope you have a gentle, meaningful start to the new year. Thanks for listening to this episode of When We Die Talks. These conversations don't offer answers, but they do open space to reflect, to feel less alone, and maybe to see things a little bit differently than before. If you'd like to explore your own beliefs out loud, you can apply to be an anonymous caller at whenwedietalks.com. And if a full call feels like too much, the voicemail is always open. Leave a message at 971-328-0864 and share whatever death has stirred in your life. Listener support truly helps keep this project going. If you'd like to support the podcast, you'll find a link in the show notes. And as always, please like, share, and follow. Every bit makes a difference. Until next time, have a good life.